Welcome to the Unraveling the Scriptures channel. Long before the great flood covered the earth and divine judgment fell upon humanity, there lived a special man, set apart by God for an extraordinary mission. This man, named Enoch, a descendant of Jared, was admired for his wisdom and skill in craftsmanship. His righteous and devoted life caught the Lord's attention, and for that, he was granted a privilege that few, perhaps no other mortal, ever received. Enoch was taken into the most hidden secrets of the heavens, into the celestial realms where the Creator himself dwells. He became an eyewitness to eternal realities, where everything remains in perfect order and harmony under the command of the Almighty. He had visions of realms where beings of light, the messengers of God, shone with a brilliance more intense than the sun. He saw the inaccessible throne, surrounded by a light that no human language can describe, and he heard the celestial songs of the cherubim, echoes of praise that resound throughout the heavens eternally. These divine revelations, never before granted to a human being, marked the beginning of Enoch's heavenly journey. He was the first to report the 10 levels of heaven, a truth preserved in the pages of what is known as the second book of Enoch. At 165 years old, Enoch became the father of Methuselah. He lived another 200 years, reaching 365 years in total. On the first day of a new month, something extraordinary happened. Enoch was alone, lying down, when a deep and inexplicable sadness overtook his spirit, even in his sleep. Without understanding what was about to happen, tears flowed from his closed eyes. Then, 2 beings of supernatural appearance appeared before him. They were unlike anything Enoch had ever seen, tall and majestic, with faces radiant like the sun, eyes that burned like fire, and mouths from which flames emerged. Their garments shone with the deepest shade of purple, their wings gleamed like gold, and their hands were pure as snow. They stood beside his bed and called him by name. Enoch awoke, and upon seeing them, greeted them, but was overcome with deep fear, and his face turned to astonishment. Perceiving his fear, the beings said to him in a firm yet calm voice, "Do not be afraid, Enoch. We have been sent by the eternal God. Today you will ascend with us to the heavens. But first, you must instruct your children and your household on what to do during your absence. No one should seek you until the Lord brings you back." Without questioning, Enoch did as he was commanded. He left his dwelling and went to the appointed place. There, he gathered his sons, Methuselah, Rahim, and Gad, and shared with them the words of the heavenly messengers. "Listen carefully, my sons," Enoch said. "I do not know where I am going, nor what awaits me. But I tell you, do not turn away from the Most High God for the sake of vain things or false powers that did not create the heavens or the earth. All these, and those who follow them, are destined for destruction. May the Lord grant you courage and wisdom to live in reverence to him." And he concluded, "No one must come looking for me. Only when the Lord allows it shall I return." Immediately after these words, Enoch was lifted up by the angels. With their radiant wings, they raised him from the earth to the heights, taking him to the first level of heaven, where he was placed upon the clouds, the beginning of his ascension into the divine realms. As he lifted his eyes, he saw even higher, beyond what human sight can reach. In what is known as the first heaven, he was shown a vast celestial ocean, immensely greater than all the seas of earth combined. There, he was brought before the elders and cosmic leaders responsible for the stars. He beheld 200 angels in charge of coordinating the celestial bodies and guiding their movements across the skies. With majestic wings, these angels traversed the heavens along the same paths used by celestial travelers. When he looked downward, Enoch saw the great storehouses of snow, guarded by mighty and imposing angels. He witnessed the birth of the clouds and their destination after fulfilling their cycle. He was also shown the place reserved for the dew. Its appearance resembled olive oil, bright and full of life, reflecting the beauty of all the world's flowers. These chambers were watched over by angels who controlled their opening and closing according to divine will. Next, Enoch was taken to the second heaven. There, the darkness was deeper than any shadow ever seen on earth. Floating in that gloom were imprisoned beings, awaiting eternal judgment. Their forms were more terrifying than the darkness itself, and their ceaseless cries filled the air. Intrigued, Enoch asked the angels who accompanied him, "Why do these spirits weep without ceasing?" They replied, "These were the ones who turned away from God, choosing to follow their own desires and rebel alongside their leader, who is now bound in the fifth heaven." Filled with deep sorrow, Enoch watched as the imprisoned beings greeted him and pleaded, "Servant of the Most High, please intercede for us." But Enoch humbly answered, "I am only a mortal man. How can I pray for angels? I do not even know what awaits me, nor who will pray for me." After this encounter, his guides led him to the third heaven. There, Enoch was placed in a dazzling land, full of wonders never known by any human being. The trees grew abundantly, heavy with fruit that gave off rich, sweet aromas. The food there seemed to overflow with joy and fragrance. At the center of this paradise stood the tree of life, the place where the Lord rests when he visits the celestial garden. This tree was indescribably beautiful. Its scent was overwhelming, and its colors gleamed with gold, crimson, and fiery tones. It bore every kind of fruit, and its roots were firmly planted in a garden at the border between the earthly realm and the divine. This paradise was set between the world of corruption and that which is eternal. From this sacred place flowed two springs. One gushed honey and milk, and the other poured out oil and wine. These springs divided into 4 great rivers, which flowed gently through the Garden of Eden before spreading across the world, completing the natural cycle of the elements. No tree there was barren. In every corner, blessings overflowed. 300 radiant angels guarded the garden, and their voices echoed endlessly, singing beautiful hymns in honor of the Lord. Amazed, Enoch exclaimed, "This place is truly magnificent." And the heavenly beings with him replied, "Enoch, this garden was prepared for those who remain faithful, even in the midst of the greatest trials. They are the ones who turn from evil, judge with righteousness, share food with the hungry, clothe the naked, strengthen the weak, and care for orphans. They live justly before God and worship him with sincerity and exclusivity." However, there was also a dark side. A black fire burned constantly, rising from a river of flame. The entire area was gripped by scorching heat and piercing cold, by unbearable thirst and uncontrollable shivering. Cruel chains bound the condemned, and the guardian angels were fearsome, merciless and armed with instruments of torment. There, suffering was unending, and the cries seemed eternal. Faced with such a terrifying vision, I cried out in despair, "This place is horrifying." The celestial beings who accompanied me responded solemnly, "This is the destiny prepared for those who reject the Creator. They are the ones who gave themselves over to sin, corrupted nature, and committed wicked acts against the innocence of children. They are those who practice sorcery, engage in black magic, and take pride in their evil deeds. Here dwell the liars, thieves, those who spread envy and hatred, and those who shed blood without remorse. They curse their fellow humans, exploit the poor for easy profit, and ignore the hungry, allowing the naked and helpless to suffer alone. These people never knew their Creator. They worshipped lifeless idols, statues that neither breathe, hear, nor see. They revered gods made by human hands, and now they face eternal judgment. This dark place is their final reward. After this revelation, the men led me higher still to the 4th heaven. There I was amazed by the radiant paths of the sun and the moon, which moved with precision and stunning brilliance. I compared their lights and noticed that the sun shone far more brightly than the moon. The sun traveled with astonishing speed, like a ceaseless wind that never stops, day or night. It was escorted by 4 principal stars, each surrounded by 1,000 smaller stars. 4 on each side, accompanying its celestial path. Altogether, 8,000 stars followed its daily journey. 15 legions of angels served it constantly. At night, 1,000 beings with 6 wings appeared, led by angels, clearing the way for the sun to cross the darkness with its blazing light. Special beings kindled it, keeping its flame alive. I also observed extraordinary creatures associated with the sun, called phoenixes and shakidri. These beings had feet like lions, with tails and heads resembling crocodiles. Their bodies shone like rainbows, enormous in size, each one measuring 900 units. Each had 12 wings, like the angels. They remained near the sun, carrying its heat and moisture as commanded by God himself. I saw the sunrise in the eastern sky. It began its journey in accordance with the rhythm of the seasons, months, and cycles of the year, marking the hours of day and night with precision. There were 6 portals from which the sun emerged, each precisely 61¼ stadia wide. These were the gates through which the sun passed month after month, measured with perfect accuracy. The sun traveled through these portals in balance, returning by the same paths as the seasons progressed. After completing its path through the 4 cycles of the year, the time pattern was fulfilled. The complete cycle of a year was sealed. Then the men led me westward, where there were 6 more portals, mirroring those of the east. These were the sunset exits, aligned with the same 365¼ days of the solar cycle. The sun passed through these western gates and, upon vanishing, left only the trail of its light in the sky. Yet its radiant crown remained before the Lord, while 400 angels guarded that celestial glow. During that time, the sun descended through an underground path, hidden beneath the earth, where it rested for 7 great hours during the night. Half of its journey occurred in that lower plane, but in the 8th hour it would approach the east again, bringing back its light and warmth. When it emerged, its intensity was stronger than fire itself. At that moment, the phoenixes and shakidri, those magnificent sun creatures, began to sing. All the birds of the sky flapped their wings in celebration of the bearer of light. And at the Lord's command, the creatures chanted, "The bearer of light has come. He shines upon all the earth. The God of the morning reveals himself in the rays of the sun, and the sun rises once more to illuminate the world." Together, the rays and divine light shone over all creation. The men then revealed to me how the movements of the sun were measured, and how it passed through those sacred gates that marked every hour of the year. For this reason, the sun is considered one of the most powerful creations, with a complete cycle of 28 years before beginning its course anew. The men then unveiled another celestial mystery. Before me stood 12 great portals connecting west to east, through which the moon journeys at appointed times. The moon enters the first western gate, beside the sun's path, and remains there for exactly 31 days. It passes through the second gate also for 31 days, then the third and fourth for 30 days each, the fifth and sixth again for 31 days. In the 7th gate, it remains for 30 days again, then 31 at the 8th, 31 at the 9th, 30 at the 10th, 31 at the 11th, and finally 28 days at the 12th gate. Just as it enters through the eastern gates, the moon also returns through the western ones, completing its cycle. This path follows the 365¼ days of the solar year. However, the lunar year contains only 354 days, leaving a 12-day difference, days referred to as lunar seasons. These variations are balanced in cycles of 532 years. A quarter day is omitted in each of the first 3 years and added in the 4th to align the total time. During the first 3 years, the extra time is not counted to avoid imbalance, otherwise 2 months would grow and 2 would shrink. When the sun finishes its journey through the western gates, it returns to the east, beginning again its path toward the light, a continuous cycle renewed with each sunrise and sunset. It moves faster than any wind, spirit, force of nature, or flying angel. Each angel involved in this cycle has 6 wings and follows a pattern repeated every 19 years, divided into 7 sacred cycles. In the intermediate heaven, I saw celestial warriors exalting the Lord with drums and stringed instruments. Their voices never ceased. The harmonies they produced were so sweet and varied that no human language could describe them. Their melodies calmed the mind and filled me with serene joy as I listened in reverence. Soon the men led me to the fifth heaven. There I encountered a countless multitude of powerful beings called Grigori. They had human-like appearances, but their stature was colossal, greater than even the greatest giants ever seen. Their faces were marked by weariness, and their expressions were filled with deep sorrow. No words came from their mouths. There was no worship in that place. Curious, I asked the men who were with me, "Why do they seem so silent and downcast? Why is there no praise here?" And they answered, "These are the Grigori who, along with their leader Saturnile, turned away from the Lord of Light. Others like them were cast into the deep darkness of the second heaven. 3 of them abandoned the throne of God and descended to a place called Urban. There, they broke their sacred vows on the slopes of Hilleman. They saw the beauty of the daughters of men, took them as wives, and corrupted the earth with their actions. These fallen angels lived in impiety, gave birth to violent giants, and spread chaos. For these transgressions, God judged them severely. Now, they suffer for the fall of their brothers and await final judgment on the day of the Lord. I turned to them and said, I have seen your brothers and witnessed the consequences of their choices. I prayed for them, but God has sentenced them to remain on earth until the end of this world. Then I asked, why do you remain here in silence instead of returning to serve the Lord? Why do you not bow before him before his wrath is complete? They listened to my words attentively and sent a message across all 4 divisions of the heavens. Suddenly, while I was still with the 2 men, 4 trumpets sounded together with a mighty blast. The Grigori stood and sang with one voice, a deep, sorrowful and moving sound that rose to the heavens before the throne of God. After this, the men took me to the 6th heaven. There, I saw 7 groups of radiant angels, shining as brightly as the sun itself. Their faces glowed more brilliantly than any known light, and all of them had identical appearances, garments, and conduct. These angels had a noble task. They were responsible for maintaining divine order. They monitored the cycles of the stars, the movements of the moon, the path of the sun, and the balance of the entire cosmos. When they witnessed acts of injustice or deviation, they issued commands and gave guidance. Their voices were like hymns, beautiful and powerful. With songs of praise, these higher archangels governed and oversaw all life in the heavens and on earth. There were also angels assigned to specific roles in the order of creation. Some watched over the seasons and the years, others supervised rivers and seas. Some cared for the fruits of the earth, while others observed every blade of grass, ensuring food for all living creatures. Certain angels had the sacred duty of recording human souls, noting every action, word, and thought of each life before God. Among them were 6 phoenixes, 6 cherubim, and 6 winged beings who sang in perfect harmony, ceaselessly. Their voices were so awe-inspiring that no human description could capture them. They celebrated joyfully before the throne of the Most High, as if time did not exist. Then the 2 men led me even higher, to the 7th heaven. There I was enveloped by an overwhelming light and witnessed grand armies of flaming archangels, alongside invisible forces, powers, authorities, cherubim, seraphim, and thrones, radiant beings full of eyes and light. There were 9 distinct orders in that hierarchy of celestial glory. Overcome by awe, I began to tremble. But the men reassured me, saying, "Be strong, Enoch. Do not be afraid." Then they showed me from afar the Lord seated on an immense throne, exalted above all things. With reverence, I asked, "What lies beyond this? What exists in the 10th heaven?" And they answered, "That is where God himself dwells." In Hebrew, this heaven is called Aravot. In that sacred place, all celestial beings gather, standing upon 10 steps, arranged according to their levels and functions. They bow before the Lord and then return to their places, singing softly in eternal praise to the infinite light. Around the throne were cherubim and seraphim, beings with 6 wings and many eyes, who never depart from the divine presence. They remain before God, carrying out his will with devotion while chanting, "Holy, holy, holy is the Lord of hosts. Heaven and earth are full of his glory." As I beheld all of this, the 2 men said to me, "Enoch, we were instructed to guide you only this far." Then they departed, leaving me alone at the edge of the 7th heaven. Terrified and overwhelmed with awe, I fell to the ground and whispered, "What is happening to me?" It was then that the Lord sent a magnificent being, Gabriel, the archangel. He appeared before me and said, "Be strong, Enoch, do not fear. Come with me. You are destined to stand before the Lord forever." But I, gripped by fear, thought within myself, "Lord, my spirit nearly abandoned me from sheer terror. I trusted the men who brought me here. I believed they would lead me to you." Then Gabriel lifted me like a leaf carried by the wind and brought me before the face of the Lord. As I looked upward, I saw the 8th heaven, called Musalot in Hebrew, where the transitions between dry and rainy seasons are regulated, and where the 12 celestial constellations dwell, above the 7th heaven. Then I was taken to the 9th heaven, known as Kokavim. There are the abodes of the 12 zodiac signs, fixed in the firmament. Finally, I reached the highest point of all creation, the 10th heaven, Aravot. I lifted my eyes and beheld the face of the Lord. It was like burning iron drawn from the fire, glowing, sparking, and blazing intensely. The vision of his presence was indescribable. Who am I to attempt to describe the indescribable? The glory of the Lord is so great that no tongue can express it, no thought can comprehend it. I cannot count the instructions that proceed from his lips, nor number the countless voices that echo from his presence. His throne is colossal, not made by human hands, and is surrounded by legions of cherubim and seraphim who sing without ceasing. His beauty is eternal, and his glory exceeds imagination. Overwhelmed by such majesty, I fell on my face to the ground. Then the Lord spoke to me, saying, "Be strong, Enoch. Do not be afraid. Rise and stand before me for all eternity." At that moment, the archangel Michael came to me, lifted me up, and brought me to remain before the presence of the Lord. Then the Most High turned to his celestial servants and, as a test, said, "Let Enoch stand before me forever." The glorious beings around the throne bowed in reverence and replied, "So be it, according to the word of the Lord." Then the Lord commanded Michael, "Remove from Enoch his earthly garments, anoint him with my fragrant oil, and clothe him in the garments of my glory." Michael obeyed. He anointed me with the heavenly oil, brighter than any light, gentle as dew, with a sweet and comforting fragrance. When I looked at myself, my body shone like the glorious ones. I had become like the celestial beings. Then the Lord summoned one of his wisest archangels, Pravil, whose wisdom surpasses all others and who records all the works of the Lord. The Most High said to him, "Bring the books from my storehouses and a fast-writing pen. Give Enoch the finest and most revealing scrolls." Pravil came to me and began to teach me everything. He explained the heavens, the earth and the seas, the elements and their movements, the patterns of thunder, the paths of the sun and moon, the seasons, the days, and the hours. He revealed the origins of the winds, the number of the angels, and how their songs are composed. He taught me about human life, the languages of songs, the divine laws, the teachings, and all the righteous praises worthy of being known. Everything I now share was imparted to me by him. Finally, he said, "Sit and write. Record every soul that will ever be born, and the place is prepared for each one, for all eternity. Every spirit was planned before the foundation of the world, and each soul is paired with another for 30 days and 30 nights." And so, obeying the command of the Most High, I sat down and wrote with utmost care everything that had been revealed to me. In the end, I completed 366 books, faithfully recording the visions and secrets entrusted to me. Then, the Lord called out to me once again. With a voice both powerful and tender, he said, "Enoch, come, sit at my left hand beside Gabriel." I knelt in reverence, and he continued, "Enoch, my beloved, everything you have seen, all that has been created, all that exists, and all that is yet to come, has now been revealed to you. Before time began, before anything existed, I created all things out of nothing. I made the invisible visible. I caused the spiritual to take form in the physical world. Listen carefully, Enoch. The words you have heard, I have never shared them with any of my angels. I never revealed to them the origin of existence itself, nor the vastness of my endless kingdom. They do not understand how all of creation was called into being. But to you, I have revealed it. Before anything could be seen, I was already walking through the invisible, from one end of what is now called heaven to the other. Just as the sun moves across the firmament from east to west, I crossed the void, without rest, without pause, laying the foundations of creation, shaping what would one day be seen. And thus ended Enoch's extraordinary journey through the 10 heavens. He walked through realms of indescribable light, crossed the prisons of fallen angels, stood within the storehouses of stars, and appeared before the throne of the living God. He saw the fate of the rebellious and the eternal reward promised to the faithful. And behind every vision, one divine truth echoed with holy clarity: God reigns over all, both in heaven and on earth. Enoch was not chosen only for his righteousness, but to record everything he witnessed, a timeless testimony, a living message for every generation to come. It is a message of warning, of hope, and of eternal purpose. Now, one question remains. What will you do with this revelation? Will you ignore what has been unveiled, or seek justice, repentance, and faith? Will you walk toward the eternal kingdom, or continue living as if nothing had been said? The Book of Enoch is not merely a chronicle of visions. It is a calling. It reveals the majesty of God, the gravity of judgment, and the glorious beauty of the divine plan. May each of us choose faithfulness, so that one day we too may stand before Him, clothed in glory, just as Enoch was. Thank you for joining us on this extraordinary journey through the 10 heavens of Enoch. If this video touched you in any way, like, share, and subscribe for more content on the hidden mysteries of the Bible and celestial revelations. Comment below, "I am seeking the kingdom," if you desire to remain firm on the path of light. May God bless you, and I'll see you soon.